What's going on, everyone? Let me come out of this real quick before I get started on that. But let me come back on the screen. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this is a special edition of All In with Nate. First thing first, let me apologize for my absence. My camera has not been working. I've been having technical difficulties with the system that I do my shows on. So I've not been able to do anything on here. So I apologize for my absence. And I probably will be doing a show later on to talk about whatever happens in the Falcons Saints game. Jets game later on, because I didn't get a chance to do one last week for the Falcons Saints. But I came on here to talk about salute to Alabama. Salute to Alabama. These guys came in here to Atlanta. They are undefeated in Atlanta. I don't know what it is about when they come to Atlanta, those boys come and show up and show out. It's happened since 2008. It happened at the Georgia Dome. It happened last night at Mercedes-Benz. They found a way to beat the Georgia Bulldogs. And entering this week, I was not surprised with the chance of them possibly upsetting Georgia, because they've by far been the most improved team in the country for weeks. Now, don't get me wrong. They definitely had that rough week 2 game against Texas. But if you've been watching Alabama, and I'm the type, I watch everybody in college football. Bama turned the tide, no pun intended, in the Tennessee game. That second half of the Tennessee game, from that point on, Alabama had been trending up. They've had some moments here and there. They had a good game against LSU. LSU gave them a good game. Jaden Daniels and company had them tied neck and neck in the third quarter and pulled away. Auburn may as well could have won that game, of course, but Bill Murrow pulled off a miracle. And if you are a fan of college football, you know the most dangerous thing in college football is a one-loss Nick Saban Alabama-led team. That team's going to be locked in. So they was coming in with the chip on their shoulder. They had an opportunity to end the winning streaks, and they came here and did the job. That defense showed up for a majority of the game. Dallas Turner Kool-Aid, I know they got hurt at a point in the game. Those boys balled out. That secondary stepped up for Alabama. Miro played. He didn't play the greatest game, but Miro did enough. They made key plays when they needed to make them. And unfortunately, Georgia had some costly mistakes that we didn't have all season long. We had a stupid turnover inside of the 15. We tried to run a reverse, turned into a field goal, missed the field goal. I'm actually going to throw the highlights up here as I'm talking about it real quick, just to give somewhat of a context on the game. Hold on, let me change the screen because I don't want YouTube to get mad at me. But just showing the highlights from the game. But once again, Alabama came with it. They came with it. It was a great game from Alabama and Nick Saban. And Georgia got punched in the mouth and didn't know how to respond. I mean, we tried. After the after the opening drive, that was not the same team. So credit Alabama. You got to credit those guys. And I hope the committee get it right. I really hope the committee get it right and put Alabama in the playoffs. They should be. I don't care about they got one loss to Texas. I respect that. Texas should be in the top 4 as well. But you got to put Alabama in there. They just took out a team that won 29 games in a row. And the last time that team lost was to the same team. You got to give them their props. That's just me, though. And I'm not even on here to campaign for Georgia to make the 4. They do not deserve to make the 4 if you don't win your conference. I'm sorry. I know teams have made the playoffs that didn't win their conference. We made it 2 years ago, won Natty. Ohio State made it last year and nearly beat us. But when you think about the context of this season, this has probably been one of the better college football seasons that we've seen in a while. And to be real, let's be honest, there's 7 to 8 teams that are in the mix that is deserving to be in the 4. Of course, you got your Washington and your Michigan that's going to be there. You got I don't know what they're going to do with Florida State. That's the one I don't know. I really don't, because they went undefeated. But we all know no Jordan Travis is a big effect to that team. Their defense is incredible. Jared Verse is great. I love Jared Verse. I hope he's a Falcon at some point. But I don't know if they're going to give them the 4, because it could be the TCU situation. They don't want to see another team get blown out like we blew out TCU last year. So they could very well be at 5. it wouldn't be right, but I'm just being honest. If you're going to go with the best 4 teams in the country, the team that you're seeing on the screen right now playing my boys is one of the 4. But it comes down, the committee got their hands full, straight up. But let's see, Charlie, what's going on, man? He's an Alabama fan. He said Atlanta's the real home for the A. That stands for, oh, Lord, don't you start that. Dunn, what's going on, bro? As you all know, this is my partner on Dunn on the Kingpins Talk and in the King's Court. Morning, bro. GG's again, one heck of a game. Do the right thing, committee. I don't know what they're gonna do. I really don't, and I would hate to be the committee right now because if we're gonna be honest, you got more than 4 teams that are capable of competing for the national championship this year. I mean, this would have been a year for 8 to start. That's the thing that is the challenge when you're thinking about going up against the 4, because Michigan's in. Michigan and Washington, we're not even talking about them. They're in. They deserved it. They earned it. We're not talking about them. Pac-12 actually had a great year from start to finish. I hate it had to end on that note, but they might have been the best conference in college football this year. Not talent-wise, but from a competitive perspective, that conference had a great year. But when you go past that, Texas, I think Texas is going to be in. I don't see a reason why they shouldn't be in. They'd had a dominant game against Oklahoma State yesterday. They beat Alabama in Alabama week 2. Even though that's a different Alabama team than the one that you saw in September, again, they won their conference. So they're going to keep them ahead. But 4. I don't know. The safe thing would be go Florida State. But in honesty, how can you look at yesterday and say you don't give Alabama a shot? I don't know. I don't know how you sit here and say that you don't give them an opportunity. That's just me. I don't know how you do that. I don't. That's me. But there's a possibility the SEC could miss the 4. And I wouldn't be shocked at this point because Florida State went undefeated. I understand it. Jordan Travis' injury is going to hurt him too. So I don't know. It's going to be tough. Dontaire also said FSU had no business in the college football playoffs after all the struggle wins they've had. And that's another thing, that they've won their games, but they have been shaky at times. They definitely been shaky at times. And that's another factor that scares me about Florida State, of putting them in and then going up against a number 1 Michigan. I don't think that team is ready for Michigan out the gate in 3 weeks. I don't think so. Chris, what's going on, Chris? He said the refs cheated, man. It was some questionable calls in the game, but I mean, we made mistakes ourselves to lose that game. And he said Texas and Georgia. I think Texas is in. I'm gonna be the first one to tell you. I said it last night. I know people been in my comments saying, Nate, you crazy, y'all are the 2-time defending champs. But again, it's tough this year because it's about 6 to 7 teams who are capable of winning the national title. But when you take into consideration that 3 went undefeated, you got a Texas team that dominated their game yesterday. Bama beat Georgia. I'm not putting Bama ahead of you. I'm not putting UJ over Alabama at this point. So again, I don't know. It's been done before, but I don't see it happening this time around. I think we're going to be playing in the New Year's Bowl. That's what I think. Then Terry said the committee rep came out this week and said it was about selecting the 4 best team and who's not deserving the most. If that's the case, then Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama. That's what I'm thinking it could be and it should be at this point. But the committee you never know the committee. Let me go to the comments. Todd, what's going on, bro? He said, I'm not giving Alabama number 4. I know that's tricky. That's tricky. I can see both sides. But the problem is that what the committee's messed up on, and I'll tell you this, I did not understand the committee having Alabama still at 8 with an opportunity to play against Georgia. I didn't understand that. I mean, that was the problem that I had the whole way. Like, you're going up against You basically said if Georgia don't win the SEC, you're gonna make it a lot tougher for the SEC to get a team in there. That's what I saw when I saw those rankings on Tuesday. And what they wanted, what they were hoping that they could have avoided, it happened. So we'll see what happens with that today. Frank Green, what's going on, bro? He said, UJ, I don't see how you don't allow 2 times champ to defend their championship. I understand it. I just don't think it's going to happen this time around. I just think they're going to, will probably be 6. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking 5 or 6, depending on if Alabama makes it or not. If they don't make it, will be 6. If they do make it, will be 5. That's what I think is going to happen. I know it's going to be unprecedented because we have never seen a number 1 seed drop all the way out, but I think it's a strong possibility it happens today. The committee do not mess with us. We didn't come in. When we won the champ last year, we came as the number 3 team in the country in the first college football poll of last season. So that just tell you what they're thinking about us at this point. And Frank Greer also said undefeated last year. I mean, all year lost. And I agree. In other years, I think it is allowed. But the way that this weekend set up, I knew that there was a high possibility if we didn't win, they were not going to give us a shot to win the conference. I thought that they were going to kick us out immediately. So, let me go back to the main screen because these highlights are probably over. Yeah, they're over. So we'll go back to the main screen. And Chris said 2018, yeah, that was true. Byron Lancaster said Texas should be in because they surprised me the most winning the Big 12, even if Oklahoma should have been there instead of the team. But anyway, oh yeah, your boys are in there. So congratulations to Michigan for what they've accomplished on the field this season. Michigan, if the SEC is not in there, I'm going to go ahead and be brutally honest. This is no jab at nobody's team that's going to be in that race. This is Michigan's championship to lose if Alabama does not step into that playoffs. And that is my true opinion. And if Michigan don't get it done, you will hear it up there from that fan base to the media. Because this season has been from preseason, they were all hyping Michigan to win this thing. So Michigan has no choice but to finish the job if it plays out where there's no Alabama in the 4. But if it is Alabama in the 4, a 1-4 Michigan-Alabama matchup is going to be bonkers. That I will be looking forward to seeing that if it plays out to be 1 Michigan 4 Alabama. That's what's going to happen because you just don't know what happens there. And Chris Glover said, what's going on, bro? He said, if UGA gets in, it will be trouble. I promise you they will not lose. Yeah, they will wake up from that L if they are allowed to get in. I just don't see it happening. But regardless, man, let me just go ahead and get this out the way. It sucked losing that game yesterday. I knew it was a possibility. I knew there was a chance we could have lost. But the first thing I want to say is, from a Bulldog fan, this has been a ride that we will never forget. Don't get me wrong. We'll be in the 12-team playoffs next year. They're going to expand to 12. But as a big-time Georgia fan, a lot of you that know me that's watching the stream know what we dealt with the Mark Richt era. We was getting close. We were always running to Alabama, lose to them in Atlanta, go to a bowl game. You're like, man, we had a chance to get into that too, Even when we got into the college football playoff mode, we were in transition to Kirby. We lost to Bama in Atlanta in the 2018 A&F national title. Lost to Joe Burrow in 19. 20, we lost to Matt Jones. And our actual last regular season loss was to Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts. Think about that as we sit here and have this conversation. We lost to a team that had Kyle Pitts at tight end in Florida. That was in November of 2020 in the regular season. We are on a 40-game winning streak in the regular season. That is still yet to end. And that is impressive within itself. And since then, winning 2 national titles, an SEC title. I mean, this team has been dominant. So I can't be mad at the run. I can't be mad at what we've accomplished on the field. I'm not saying that this team can't do stuff in the future, but to run 29 off in a row and break the SEC record is incredible. I don't care how you chop it up on paper. I know that's going to be in the short term. That's not something that we really want to talk about because We would love to be in the playoffs. I don't see it. But again, we've done a lot. We've got a chance to really make a big impact in the country from start to finish, and they're going to be around. But again, I will say this. If Alabama is in the playoffs and they find a way to win the Natty this year, this will be Nick Saban's best national championship coaching job I've ever seen. That Bama team is not your normal Alabama team. They got a good defense, decent running game, but it's not your standard Alabama team. But they found a way to win because you got the greatest coach of all time on the other side. So salute to them. For my boys, you just got to – I don't know what's going to happen with us as far as the playoff result. I think we're going to play on New Year's Day. And the thing with Georgia is I don't know who's going to stay, who's going to go. I will say this. I think Brock is absolutely gone. Brock's going to be a top 10 to 15 pick in the draft. He's out of here. Lad McConkey's gone. I think Amarius Mims, he got hurt yesterday early in the Alabama game. He's been projected all season to be a top 10 pick. He's out of here too. Them three are gone. Van Pran is gone as well. Van Pran came back for another year. I guess he wants to see any three-peat, but he's going to be the top center in the draft coming out in April. Who else? Let me think. I'm trying to think. Bullett's going to go pro. He's going to probably be a late first, early second round pick. Kamari Lasser's going to leave. So Small Money's going to leave. You got several guys on that Georgia team that is the ending of the group that started off in the national championship run at first. So you got several guys that's going to leave. So Georgia's going through a lot of transition. They've done it in the last couple of years. So it's really that transition period for UGA. And then next year, we're going to have some good games on our hands. We got to play Clemson next year. We're going to go to Texas. We're going to Alabama. I think they said September 28th. So you're going to get an early rematch in the of that SEC title game against Alabama at Tuscaloosa. So Georgia's schedule is going to be tough next year. So again, I'm hoping that we return with Carson Beck. I think he should wait and go out next year. I think he will be an easy first-round pick if he comes back next year because although we're going to lose a lot this offseason, you're still going to have a lot of your several solid core players on the team. You're going to come back with Dylan Bell. You're going to come back with, I think Rosane's going to be back next year. Rara should be back next year. Dom Lovett should be back next year. You know, a lot of your talent is not just leaving out the door. You're going to lose a lot, but you're still going to have a decent amount of talent on that offense. I think they should be back again in the fold next year. But as far as like defensively, all season long, I had an issue with our front four. If you follow me on Facebook, for the ones that watch on YouTube, you've seen me discuss it. From the time when we snuck out that Auburn game, I said, this defensive line is going to be the thing that cost us a three-peat. And it showed up yesterday. No disrespect to Brinson and Stackhouse. Those guys are not that good. They're not your Jalen Carter. They're not your Jordan Davis. They're not your Devontae Wyatt. So you go from those three who are all starters in the National Football League, might I add. And Jalen Carter's ripping it up in Philadelphia. Jordan Davis is having a solid year in Philadelphia since he's been there. When you go from that to what we had on the field this year, it's a transition, but those guys just weren't the same. They were not the same dominant guy up front, and teams took advantage of it. Auburn took advantage of it. Georgia Tech showed the flaws in it in our win, even though we were just trying to get out there with a win. But it was shown in those games. So Nick Saban, he game planned off of it, and that was a great game plan that him and his group came into the field with last night. They won. Let me hit this comment real quick. Ontario said that, in fact, this will be Nick's best ring if he pulls this off. This squad grew in the season, has an opportunity to have one heck of a Yes, that is so true. I agree with everything that you're saying. And I said earlier in the stream that this team, that Alabama team grew up throughout the season. And I knew once we got an opportunity to play Alabama, it was going to be their best version of Alabama. I knew no matter what happened in that Auburn game, they were going to come locked in. This is a team that has not lost in Atlanta in 15 years, going on 16. they'll get a chance to go to the playoffs. So I knew we were going to have our hands full on. I wish, for me, that's still a thing that Georgia still has to get over the hump on. You're going to have to figure out that Alabama, you're going to figure out Alabama in the SEC title game. You have never beat them in the SEC title game, nor have we won back-to-back SEC titles. So those are certain things that I know Kirby and company want to focus on in the future. Of course, winning national titles, but I'm just saying within your conference, because at this point, you blew an opportunity to have your shot at a three-peat. If the committee let us in, I'll be shocked, but I don't see it happening. And let's see, Frank Green said Georgia, Oregon, Newt. I could see that happening. I could see Georgia, Oregon, Georgia, Penn State. I think it's going to be one of those type of matchups in a bowl game. I could see it being here in Atlanta. I can see us playing in Mercedes-Benz in a couple weeks in the Peach Bowl. I could see that happening too. I just don't see the chance of us going to the playoffs at this point. But again, it's a disappointing way to end the winning streak. But however, it was a great run. It was a great run. So we'll see. Let me go to the comments. What's going on with boy Gary? What's going on? Brother, what's going on? Darrell said this might be the year we don't see an SEC team in the playoffs. It's very possible. It's very possible. I felt like Florida State was needed to lose last night in order for it to be a guaranteed SEC team in the playoffs. But Florida State won last night. And I'm not dogging Florida State for winning. You deserve to win your games. Nothing against that. But the reality is that might have cost, it absolutely cost Georgia. Georgia's not touching the college football playoffs. I'm sorry. And I'm hoping for who's on here that's watching, that's feeling like we still have a chance. We can still make it. We can still get in. I'm sorry. I can't do that. I can't be that guy. You know me, I'm a realistic individual. So I cannot be that guy to sit here and tell you that Georgia's going to make the playoffs. If you come in here to hear me say that, wrong stream. Wrong stream. Unfortunately, it could cost Alabama in the same way, because the Texas-Alabama game is now coming into factor on December the 3rd. Yes, this game happened on September the 9th. Yes, that was two different teams from September the 9th. However, because they have the one up on Alabama as far as the win column, this could be a tricky situation at noon. For those that are looking forward to watching the show of who's going to make the college football playoffs, they reveal it at noon. So you'll know where your team finished ranked. For me, I think Georgia's going to finish ranked number 6. That's what I think is going to end up happening. But like I said, I think it'll be 5 it's going to be 6. Because I think if it comes down to it, you could either see Florida State falling to 5. It's going to be Florida State or Bama at that 5. I think guaranteed we're going to see Washington, Michigan, and Texas. I think those 3 are safe. That's what I think. But again, like I said, I salute Georgia for this great run. That's what I salute. I'm proud to be a Bulldog fan to this day. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it was a tough loss. I was hoping to get a chance at a three-peat, and I salute Minnesota for it. I know it was in the 30s, but it's still hard. It is very, very hard to do 1 title, yet alone 2. But to do 3, I don't know. That's still incredible. And I don't know if it's going to be done in this current era with the NILs and the transfer portals and all those different things. So the fact that we had an opportunity to possibly, we came 2 games away from doing it. So the fact we had a chance to do it was incredible within itself. But let me hit this comment real quick. Byron Lancaster said Oklahoma, Texas, Georgia, Alabama are the top teams in the SEC going forward. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC this upcoming year, especially Texas, because I feel like Texas definitely have the market, definitely build their rosters to be a SEC style team. I think Oklahoma's going to have a little more of a challenge because Oklahoma, they can score, but they don't play a lot of defense. So I think they're going to have a little more of a challenge in the SEC than Texas will. I think Texas is going to fit right in. But with that being said, again, I think that we'll get a chance to see what plays out next year. I think Georgia will be in that 12 next year. I felt like it should have been 8, but that's just my opinion. But again, looking forward to next season for the Bulldogs. I want to step on here and talk a little bit about them, but salute to that group, what they pulled off over the last 3 years. Again, just throwing some stats out before I get off of here. Currently on a 40-game winning streak in the regular season, 29 straight, all straight up, which was the SEC record. They just beat the SEC record by 1. I think it was Alabama group from 2011 to 13 that had the second best one. So it was a great run. It's been a great run, and hopefully they get the opportunity to do it again coming forward. I mean, I don't think it's going to be the end of our championship runs. I think we still got a future ahead of us. We got the number 1 recruiting class at this moment. So again, Georgia's recruiting top notch. So once again, the top dog got beat. Salute to Alabama. So we'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward to see what happens at noon. I think we're going to see some type of controversy one way or another. But it will be crazy if there's no SEC team in the college football playoffs for the first time since the playoffs started. But again, salute to Alabama. I will be back on here to talk, of course, about the Falcons at 4 o'clock after the Jets game. So until next time, this has been a short episode of All In with Nate. I wanted to talk about the SEC championship game, and I'll definitely do some more Georgia content if you all enjoyed it. Because I plan on doing it at some point early in the year, but I just didn't get around to doing it. But again, with that being said, have a great Sunday. Enjoy your football Sunday, and good luck to the teams that crack the college football playoffs. We won't be one of them, but good luck.